Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is, of course, your podcast mogul himself, Phil Better, coming at you again with a day. What day are we again? I don't know what the day of the week is. We are day 8 in the Building a Podcast with your podcast mogul, Phil Better. This is, of course, Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. Got to make sure I don't mess that one up. Shout out to everybody who's watching live and everybody watches the replay. If you want to comment down below, let me know that you're watching live, or use the hashtag replay to let me know you're watching on the replay. I am, of course, so happy to be doing this with you guys and showing you my method to grow a podcast. Of course, there are thousands of different methods to grow a podcast or create a podcast. This is just mine, and I'm very happy to share it with you. Sorry, I needed a little drink of water there. A little parch. I've been doing a lot of podcasting today. I think I was a guest on like 4 podcasts. I had another podcast interview that I did for my other podcast, Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm saying podcast a lot. When you work in the world of podcasting, you say podcast. Hello, good person. If you want to leave a message so that I can see your name, you do need to let on the top of this thing, there's a post saying there's a little link. You click on that, it will let StreamYards show your name. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my phone, and it's Adam. Hi, Adam. Adam runs this amazing podcast out of the UK where he teaches at a school for children with autism and on the spectrum, and he does a sports podcast with those students, interview amazing sports celebrities, and it is an amazing podcast. I highly suggest you check it out. It is the TWS podcast, or TWS Sports Podcast, I believe, right, Adam? It's one of those two. He'll leave. I'll ask him to put a link to his show in the comments down below so that you guys can check it out. He's an amazing podcaster, even better human being. He's a teacher and he's great. I love it. I've listened to a few of his episodes and I can't say enough how great it is. But this episode was supposed to be using Zapier to automate some of your podcasts. There we go. TWS Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for giving us an update on that, Adam. Yes. As I was saying, this was supposed to be about Zapier, but I realized that I got some guests from our, remember from earlier in the week when we did the guest outreach. I showed you how to do it, and I accidentally forgot. Hey, my boy Aaron, I had a great chat with Aaron earlier today. Here we go. Aaron, what is up? He is always there, always supportive. So, he is Horror with Sir Sturdy that goes live Tuesdays and Thursdays. You should definitely check them out. Great, amazing podcast. But going back to my podcast here, as you can see, we're just not going to want to show that. There we go. Share screen. Yes, we go over here. Here we go. Here's the share screen, right? As you can tell from yesterday, interview book, email sent, interview booked, interview recorded, but I forgot to look. Today's the 21st. We have someone coming in tomorrow on the live. So we're doing our first ever live interview. The individual's name it's Diane. They have a podcast called Word of Hearts. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to learn more about that. So today's going to be all about being an amazing host. All right. So what does that mean? I actually have a book that's in the process of being written. I have the ideas already down, the 7 principles of being a good host that I will share with you, not on the screen because I don't want to give away some of my secrets. But yeah, so we need to get ready for this there you go. This amazing podcaster who's going to be on the show. So yeah, I'm going to teach you guys my 7 steps to being an awesome host to a podcast. So when you amazing host when you have a guest on. So here we go. The first thing you want to do is you want to communicate a few times with your guest before the episode. So unfortunately, I completely forgot that our guest is coming on, so I didn't have a chance to. But generally, when you book a guest, you want to have a few bits of communication with them. Let them know, okay, hey, how's this? How's that? And you'll learn quickly a lot about them. And it makes the podcast a lot easier. So when they jump on, they're not nervous. And that happens. Some people get nervous, and you don't want that. So especially when you do a live show live to an audience like you guys. They can be a little nervous. Not everybody's used to it. Not everybody's used to performing. So you want to communicate, get them used to your type of voice, type of questions you may ask. And that I actually had a call earlier today with another guest, an English teacher who's going to be on the show. He just wanted to know how it was going to roll, so I explained that to him. So yeah, early communication with your guest is as important as them being on the show. You want to show that you're interested in them, a little bit more about them if you didn't get that on your guest intake, and just let them relax and let them know how the show goes. So that is one of the main things. Always communicate with your guests, and that's why we collect the emails so that you guys can communicate. So I want to tell you a little story about something that I had a recent guest on one of my other podcasts, Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I had Steve Weedman in, and he's a businessman. He's the CEO of SEO. If you understand what that means, you're one cooler person than I am. But no, this guy has worked for Disney, Applebee's, some of these big name brands. I'm just naming a few. Anyways, I reached out for him to be a guest. He said, actually, he reached out to me, which was really awesome. He reached out to me. I read his bio. I was like, yes, this is the guy I need for my podcast. We set up an interview. Unfortunately, there was a little problem. We did have a casual, we had about 4 or 5 emails exchanged, and this guy is an amazing guy. He's great. He gave a great gift to my audience. So look out for that episode to come out next month with Steve. It's amazing. But unfortunately, when it came time to record, he wasn't there. He had a mini situation erupt with his clients. And obviously, as a businessman, clients come first before you promote yourself. And so he couldn't make it. He emailed me later saying he apologized profusely. And he sent me a bottle of wine. Now, as a host, if I receive a gift from you, you're automatically my favorite guest. The fact that he sent me a bottle of wine from one of his trips to Napa blew my mind out, people. It blew my mind. I received it. It was delicious. It was a beautiful bottle of wine. So I can't thank Steve enough. But this is what happens when you have great communication with your guests. They may feel happy to send you stuff. I have a couple other guests that are sending me their books. So this is something that can work. When you make a great impression on a guest, they could end up sending you some freebies. So always remember that. I was also offered by Andrew Logan, again, an amazing podcaster. He will be one of the final guests in season 4 because he's an amazing guy. But he was willing to send me one of the books that he promotes, that he always suggests, but I unfortunately bought it already on Amazon, just before he let me know that he wanted to send it to me. But this is some of the benefits of having that great communication with your guests, that you end up getting freebies from them. Now, I'm not in it for the freebies, and neither should you, but this is one of the advantages of it. So yeah, remember that communication with your guests often before the show and even after the show. Thank them. Tell them how great it was, and that just shows how much you care, and they'll appreciate it. As a guest, because I've been on both sides. As a host, it's awesome because you get the guests loving you even more, and they want to help you promote your show because they're like, "Oh, I'm on it, and this guy was awesome." But as a guest, when you get that feedback and that recognition from the host, you just feel amazing, and it feels nice, like, okay, I didn't waste my time. This guy actually valued, or this girl actually valued my time. So that is something very important. Always have that communication line with your guests. If it's going to be a one-off guest, still keep that lines of communication open, because you never know if in the future, because this is also something I do, I help my friends and fellow podcasters get guests on. So now that I have this repertoire of guests on and I have this great communication with them, I can then go, hey, this other podcast is looking for a guest. Are you interested? And they'll go, yes. And then you're like, boom, baby. It's on like Donkey Kong. And now you look even better because they're like, oh, this guy knows his stuff, or this girl knows his stuff, their stuff, sorry. And they may come to you to book them on more podcasts. That's a possibility. Or they may know, hey, this guy is really good with podcasts. I'll ask if he knows any other podcasts that I could be on. And that just brings up more and more business for you if that's your business. It is my business. I am a podcast producer. I help podcasters get on podcasts, get guests, and also help guests get on more podcasts because I produce so many podcasts. Anyways, there's that. Now that once you've had the confirmation with your guest, the next step is you want to listen to at least 3 episodes of either their podcast or podcasts that they've been on. And Apple makes it really easy now to search for podcasts. So you can do that and just go into Apple and find 3, just listen to 3 episodes. If they have their own podcast, like our guests do on this show, I'm going to listen to their podcast. I'm going to learn about their podcast so that when I start talking to them, I have something to draw on. And that's what you want. You want to be able to show that you've done your research. Now, when you talk with them, you go, hey, I was listening to the podcast episode you did with XYZ. So we'll use Steve, right? Steve was on my podcast. Let's say Aaron heard him on my podcast and was like, hey, I was listening to one of the episodes you did with Phil on the Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast. And you mentioned this regarding SEO. Do you want to just expand a bit more on that so that I could have an idea of what you were talking about, or it could be better explained? And so this gives the guest like, oh, this guy did this host did their research. They want me to expand on something that they heard on another show. So that's important. That's an amazing thing. And again, having had that happen to me, all this is pretty much stuff that either I have done and I've gotten positive feedback from, or I've received it. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'll start doing this. So as a guest, when I receive a question where they're like, yeah, I listened to your show and you mentioned this, can you expand on that? Or you interviewed this person and I wanted you to wanted some more information on if you could. And so that just really makes my life better. It makes everyone's lives better. It makes you look more professional. And that's what we want. We want to look professional for our guests because that just ups the game. So always do a little bit of research. I say 3 podcasts that your guest was had, and maybe see if there's an idea or 2 or a question in there that you want to pull and ask more about. So if they're talking about a topic and you're like, hey, I want to know more, but you didn't go into detail. So you can go, you answered this question with this, and this. Do you mind just expanding a bit more on it? That way your guest will be more inclined and happy to do it because it's like, oh, this person cares about what I have to say. They spend time listening. The next thing you do before you go live, 10, 15 minutes, even 5 minutes. I just can't. Stacey Price. Thank you so much. I am the best. I try. My last name, Better, kind of means the best. But I did a podcast on her. She has an amazing podcast. It's I just blanked on your name. What's the name of your podcast, Stacey, again? I'm so sorry. Price. No, it's not Price is Right. That would be hilarious, but it's not. Stacey's an amazing podcast. You know what? Hold on. I will be up. Aaron agrees with me. I will be awesome. Price on Purpose. I knew it had Price in it. I wasn't. Price is Right. It could be a great name for your show. But yeah, Price on Purpose. Here, let me put it up here. It's all good. Thank you. But it's Price on Purpose. It's an amazing podcast where she talks to individuals about overcoming stuff and doing stuff and finding out what your purpose is. So I had an amazing time with it. I think I'm one of the longest episodes she has. It's nearly 90 minutes of gold, really. She said there's a lot of gold. I don't know. I talk a lot, so I don't know. But I was actually mentioning this and this episode. And so she was like, oh, I'm going to tune in and check it out. So I thank you, Stacey, for checking it out and being one of the many, many people watching me. I love you all. We also talked about monetization. So there's that. Oh, yes. It's Golden Nugget Phil, my new nickname. Oh, you should definitely, Stacey, please drop your link in the the comments so that Aaron and everybody else can find out, because it's an amazing show. I met Stacey through another fellow podcaster named Maria Daniels, another crazy amazing podcaster who has like 25,000 podcasts. I don't know how many podcasts, but she's an amazing person. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to promoting other people's podcasts on my podcast. So that's what we do here on this show. This is a podcast show for podcasters to learn to be a better podcaster or even share their podcast. So as I was saying, before me, and this brings up a great point. While I was on Stacy's show, Price on Purpose, we had a chat beforehand. Now, I usually do this with my podcast guests on Invest in Yourself. Usually about 5 minutes, I chit chat. Hey, how you doing? Good. What's new? Getting to know them, just getting them into the flow. What this does is it helps establish your rapport with your guests, but it loosens up because I'm a podcaster. I talk all the time. I never stop talking pretty much. If I'm not talking, something's wrong. And my parents usually call me up, Phil, you're not talking. What's wrong? But since you're as a podcaster, you're used to it. Let's say you're coming in cold. It warms up the vocal cords. It warms up the guests. It makes you at ease. You're like, oh, we're just having a conversation. This is easy. And then you can start the show and it's easy. So that usually I say 5 to 10 minutes works. You can go up to 15. It's really up to your choice and how much time you have with the guest, and you don't want to abuse their time. I deal with a lot of busy entrepreneurs, so I try to keep it to 5 minutes, and usually that works, sometimes 10, but it goes great. It's perfect, but you don't want to talk about topics that will be on your podcast that you want to stay away from. You want to stay to, just how your day's going, this and that. Get them into a conversation, and then you can go into the podcast. So remember, 5-10 minutes, you're good. You warmed up the vocal cords. Make sure you have water so you can drink whenever you want. Aaron, he's extra happy to see you. He's extra happy to see you because you guys are tuning in live to the not the Phil Better Show, the Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. And Mickey's just happy to see you. He's always happy to see you guys. So he's showing off to you. Oh, I love it. You definitely want to check out your show. You should, like I said, Price on Purpose. Check it out on YouTube. I don't think she's on YouTube. She could be on YouTube. I don't know. But you can check it out on Apple and Spotify right away. Go ahead and check it out. If I have time. Wait, you know what? Here, we're going to do her a favor. Where is it? Is this it? Let's see, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I think I found it. I found one of them. Here we go. I'm going to put this here. You guys can watch here. I'm not sure. I know she's currently rebranding. So go back. Oops. There we go. I am so sorry. You've been trying to drop it forever. The laptops are slow. I think I put it on the right thing. Oh wait, maybe this is it. Oh yeah, this is one of them as well. Here's a YouTube. Here's a YouTube one as well. I think this is at least yours. Yeah, it is. Stacy Price spent over 17 years in customer service. Yeah. There we go. Two links for you to check out, one on YouTube, one on Facebook. It's an amazing podcast, very much. And Stacy was doing just exactly what I was doing. She just showed up after her live show. Congratulations on the live show. It's probably that's why your computer's so slow. It's because you just came off of a heavy duty live show. But yes, so 5 to 10 minutes beforehand, chit chat, don't talk about the subject, and you'll be good. Next, this is something a lot of people have problems with. This right here, this phone right here, the notifications, don't have your phone in the room. Turn off notifications, put it on silent, throw your phone away, make sure that no one can get in contact with you. Make sure your Facebook on your computer is turned off. You're only concentrated on your guest. That's the most important thing because it's showing respect to your guest. It's showing you're showing that you're a professional, and it allows the other guests to know that you're 100% dialed in to the conversation that you're having. And that's the most important thing. Have you ever been at a restaurant and your person you're with, they're on their phone or they're doing something else? It's very distracting. It's very not nice, and you don't feel comfortable. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. I love supporting fellow podcasters. if you're watching this either on the live or on the replay and you want to share your podcast, throw it in the comments down below. I have no problem with it. This is a podcast to help promote other podcasters, so feel free to share your podcast in the show notes down below. Not in the show notes, but in the comments down below, and maybe I'll give you a shout out. But yeah, so you want to make sure you turn off all your notifications on your phone, on your computer, so that you're not distracted. You're 100% dialed in on the conversation so that they feel engaged, you're engaged, and you have the best conversation possible. Yeah, there we go. The next one is, this is for beginner podcasters, and the more experienced ones don't really need it because they're used to it. There we go. Aaron just shout out with his podcast link to his YouTube. Horror with Sir Sturdy is an amazing podcast. You should check it out. Make sure you check out the episodes that I am on because they're fantastical. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing that, Aaron. Check it out again. Horror with Sir Sturdy. But yeah, you want to. This is what I suggest to people. Have your podcast. Oh yeah, you also have Pints and Popcorn, or Popcorn and Pints. Another podcast he does on Saturdays, another live show. Amazing. Should definitely check it out. But as I was saying, I suggest you have so most podcasts. Oh, nice. That's right. I did run an episode once. I sometimes do that. I sometimes overtake a podcast episode. I run it as if it's my own. I shouldn't have, but I do it sometimes. But as I was saying, you want to make sure you have your questions ready for your guest. Now, most podcasts go for like 30 minutes. We're saying like, and on average of 30 minutes, this is about a 30-minute podcast. It may go over, may go under, but most interviews go for 30 to 45 minutes. Now, I suggest having 12 questions. Why do I suggest having 12 questions? Because it usually takes about a minute for you to ask a question. So that's 12 minutes right out of your podcast taken. If it's a 30-minute podcast, that's 12 minutes. Pfft. But you also have 12 minutes in case another 12 minutes of answers from your guest. Because sometimes guests give like 2-word answers and you're like, what the hell? And other times they give you long-winded answers and you don't need the rest of your questions because you've only been able to ask one question. Like if you have me on your show, you'll ask one question and I'll be talking for the rest of the show. You can just ask Stacy, or Aaron. They've had me on and I never shut up. And that's why I'm a podcaster. But yeah, I always suggest you have your list of questions ready. Either have it on your screen, have it written down, or just have it somewhere where you can see it. And if you need to, you can jump to those questions. I always have questions ready for my audience, for my guests, but generally I don't use them. I like to go broad, but sometimes I keep it point to the question. So keep those questions handy. You may need them, you may not. Keep them on point, and always make sure these questions don't offend your guest. Stacy, thank you so much. I did love being a guest on your show, and having talking points is great. Yep. That's Stacy's got it on point. She's an amazing podcaster as well as Aaron. They do interviews and they do reviews. So very, very great podcast. But having your questions ready allows you that if you have a blind blank, you can jump to a question and ask that question. Parallel with that, I always suggest, and Stacy can confirm this, is always have a book and a pen ready for when you're doing your podcast. Because if you're this is specifically if you're interviewing. If you're not doing an interview podcast, you not necessary to have questions and answers. If you're reviewing a podcast or a movie like Aaron does on Horror with Sir Sturdy, or Popcorn and Pints, where they review movies and they talk about, you don't need it. But generally, some people do their interview. I would suggest having those questions written down and off to the side. But what you want to do is have your pen and paper and a timer. So I'm using StreamYard. Sorry, I'm using StreamYards. It provides me with a timer up at the top, so I know what time it is. But if you don't have that, if you're using Zoom, sometimes Zoom doesn't do it. Have your phone handy, set up the timer, and anytime your guest says something really important or something that you're like, oh my God, that's amazing, write down the timestamp. If you look here, can we get it? Yeah, there we go. All these are interviews I had, and they're time-stamped. They're time-stamped so that I know when I go into, or I send it to my editor, I'm like, I want this clipped. because it's a great clip and I want to use it for socials, or it's something I want to point out in the show notes. So I have those things, I can put them. And okay, we talked about at this moment at 8 minutes in, we talked about this answer and this. So it gives my audience the chance to be like, oh, I can check out the episode there and get more information. So that is something very important to do. Just remember that you need to write those down, and it'll save you so much time in post editing. Oh, here we go. There we go. If you guys are interested, Sir Sturdy is doing one of the best things I ever taught him. Actually, I was speaking with him earlier today. How to get guests on your podcast. This is one of the ways. Just ask. Just ask. You never know. I'm pretty sure Stacy's going to say yes to that. There you go. I'm not sure what. Boom. Look at this. Live on this podcast. We've just hooked up two podcasters together. We got Aaron and Stacy coming together to be podcast buddies. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that episode. So I'm glad I was able to do that. Wow, that's an amazing thing. And yes, I think I know what the great idea was. The pad and paper, always a great thing because it makes your life so much easier when you're editing. Now, that's the questions. Good. Now, moving on, we got two more and then we'll jump off and you guys can go about your day. But the first one is I always give the last few minutes of the episode to my guest so that they can promote themselves as a thank you, because I can't pay them. The only thing I can pay them with is free promotion. You know, it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. But I let them promote themselves. They can promote their podcast. In this case, it's going to be their podcast. If they have social media, their business, anything they want. There you go. Timestamp ideas. I love it. Clip it out, the funny moments, and use them as clips. There you go. Your podcast, remember, your podcast is content that can be repurposed all the time. So even 6 months down the road after this episode, I can use this moment with Sir Sturdy and Stacy, and I can clip that part where I said, look, even on my show, I didn't even do anything. I help people get on shows and connect guests. So this is a clip that I can use later on. And again, that explanation is another clip. Your podcast is full of clips and great stuff that you can share on social media, share as social proof to show how great you are. So make use of it. Don't just record it, put it out, and forget about it. There is great content there. And by having it written down, you'll remember it even more. And you can go back and grab that stuff out. So remember to do that. But yes, going back, giving your guests the last 5 minutes, last 10 minutes of your show to promote themselves is the best way to create a bond again with your guests, because they feel honored that you're giving them some time. Like you gave them, the whole episode was all about them pretty much. And then at the end, you're like, here, promote yourself even more. And you'll see people love it and everybody's going to be happy. Your guests will be happy. They'll be more than happy to come back. Every single one of my guests that I've interviewed has requested to be back on the show. So there's definitely a power in doing that. And then the final thing is after the episode, you thank your guest. Of course, you'll always thank your guest. Chit chat a bit more if you can. But closing up, leave them with a good feeling. Go, I really thank you for being a guest. It was awesome. I really love when you put this out, and this out. I'll let you know when the episode goes live. Is there anything else I can do for you? You always want to leave that, and they'll be like, oh, do you mind putting this link or that link or this link or that link? And you'll be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Or you go, hey, let me know when it goes live. I go, yeah, sure, no problem. And then you'll see that they'll be sharing it to their socials, and it's going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. I've gotten big boosts from some of my guests being on my show because they shared the episode with their audience, and it was just phenomenal. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is how to be an amazing guest. You know what? I'm going to give you the bonus. I'm going to give you one of the two bonuses that I have in the book. It's kind of a bonus already. It's putting guests in contact with other podcasters. Like I said, that is an amazing ability to have, because podcasters will then rely on you to provide them with high valued guests, and guests will rely on you to put them in touch with high valued podcasts. So that's why I think podcasting is a community. Find a group of community members that are like you, or have podcasts similar to you, so that you can bring them guests that are similar to your podcast. Like if your podcast is on movies and someone else has one on, horror movies, if you get a horror person, if I interview someone in the horror world, I'm going to reach out to Sir Sturdy and be like, dude, I just interviewed this guy in the horror world. I think he would be perfect for your podcast. And we put them together. Boom, magic. Now, Sir Sturdy is happy to be connected with me because I'm providing a high valued guest. The guest that I put on his show, it loves me because he didn't have to do much work to get, or they didn't have to do much work to get on that podcast because they had someone handle it for them. I'm like, hey, I got you booked on another podcast, and boom, everyone's happy. That's how I landed my first client, Lloyd. Money Grows on Trees. I actually put him on 5 podcasts. I reached out to 5 different podcasters in the entrepreneurial world and was like, hey, here's a guest. Do you want him? Yes. Boom, put them in contact. And it was just and then Lloyd came back to me and was like, let's do a podcast. I want you. So this is very helpful if you want putting guests and podcasts together. That's an amazing ability. It makes you look better. It makes the guests look better. Everyone's happy. So there's that. Now, if you are interested, ladies and gentlemen who are watching this on my Facebook page and not in the group, I have started a Facebook group specifically to help you grow your podcast and get guests and stuff like that. So it's a community to grow your podcast, to make yourself and your podcast better. If you are interested in joining, please let me know. I will put the link in the show notes so that you guys can join. And yeah, it's called, if you're watching this now, it's called Better Podcasting Growth Group. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it is there. It's already growing as it is. I love it. It's so much fun. And I thank you so much for watching. Aaron, you're an amazing guy. I love you, Aaron. You help out. Yes, there's amazing podcasters in there. It's not like the other promotional groups or any other groups out there for podcasting. You just can't post wild. There's topics and threads that you can post in, and just to keep things clean and organized, because I am planning on getting this group huge and being one of the primo positive places on the internet for podcasting. Stacey, you are more than welcome. I wish I could give you more, but we are coming to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, for the first time ever on the live stream, I will be doing a live interview with a fellow podcaster. I am, of course, Phil Better. This is Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. I want you all to take care, and I wish you all a great day. Oh, by the way, I am also going live again in the stock market for beginners group, Stock Dirty to Me. If you're interested in learning about stocks, I would suggest checking out that group. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, Stacy, you get to be able to say, hey, that guy has a huge group. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Phil Better. I wish you all a great day, and thank you for tuning in.